Straight Talk with your host, Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, all right here. Oh, Simply Straight Talk.
Hey everybody, it's that time again. Are you ready for some simple straight talk with real discussions about real life topics? Today, Reggie is talking about the challenges of being a leader. If you have ever been in a leadership role as a manager, supervisor, or administrator, you know people can drive you to the point of losing your cool. But wait, Reggie is going to share some of his individual experiences and challenges with you on being a leader. It's showtime.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Simply Straight Talk Show. And today, we are going to be talking about the challenges of being a manager or supervisor. Now, for those of you who are in the position of being a manager or supervisor, you're going to understand this. You're going to understand a lot of the things I'm saying. Now, for those of you who have never been in a manager or supervisor position, you're going to kind of be like, I don't know, I don't see that. But what I'm hoping to accomplish is that you will come to understand the manager's point of view. But I'm hoping for those managers and supervisors who maybe don't have the experience of being a manager for a long time, or you're a first-time manager, that some of the tips that I'm giving you are going to help you in your role as a manager to be better as far as, being more productive for your department, as well as you being more productive for your staff and getting your staff to work with you and not against you. But in the same token, also asking you to work with your staff and not against them. Now, what I want to do is let you know that I'm not just telling you this because it's stuff that I guess. I'm basically going to pull from my own experience. I was in the Navy for 10 years. I was a second-class petty officer. So in that position, I supervised and managed a lot of positions. I managed a lot of special operations. I also was a supervisor at a security company. I was a director at a university. I've been another supervisor at a community college. So I'm telling you basically from my experience of 47 years of living, I got about 22 years of being in leadership positions. And I want to share with you what I have learned over the years. And I'm hoping that this is going to help. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. And I want to share with you some of the challenges that a supervisor normally faces. Number one, when you talk about being a manager or supervisor, you're the person that's supposed to make sure that everything is going well. Everybody understand what's supposed to be taking place, what needs to get done, make sure that tasks and projects are getting completed in a timely manner, making sure that employees are reporting together or reporting to work on time, doing what they're supposed to do. You might be responsible for payroll. You might be responsible for evaluations, disciplinary actions, all of that stuff. Now, at some point, some people are going to say, you know what, being a manager or supervisor is overrated. And for some jobs, it may be if you're not allowed to be a manager or supervisor, or if there are no clear guidelines for what the department or the area that you work in is supposed to accomplish or really get done. Now, one of the biggest challenges of being a manager or supervisor is dealing with disgruntled employees, and you're always going to have them. These are employees that you just cannot make happy. Now, some of them probably had a bad manager before you, or they just had a bad experience. So when you come in, they're thinking that everything is going to stay the same. And because things were so bad, they now are figuring you're just another manager, just like the rest. And you're going to treat them the same way. Nothing's going to change. You're not going to make any improvements. So that's the thing about that. When you're dealing with disgruntled employees, you have to kind of understand which employees are disgruntled because of the work environment and which of those employees are disgruntled just because they're just not happy people. I mean, some people, you can promote them to president, give them a $30 million pay raise, and they will still be unhappy. So that's something that a manager got to deal with, disgruntled employees. Other thing you got to deal with as a manager or supervisor, there are times when you're going to be caught in between the employees and upper administration. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is there are going to be times when the administration is going to say, we need this done, that done, and this done. Now, you as the manager, most likely the one who has the actual hands-on experience and knowledge of what needs to be done, you're going to look at the administration like you guys are absolutely crazy. You don't know what you're asking and you don't know what it takes to actually make this happen. We don't have the tools. We don't have the resources. So when you go back and tell this to the employees are like, why are you bringing us this craziness? You know we don't have the tools and resources to doing this. Why are you making us do it? And sometimes the employees don't realize that a lot of decisions come from management that's forced down on the manager or supervisor who's having to relay the message, which the manager knows. They know that this is absolutely stupid. But as the manager, they got to do their best to try to make it happen. So you have to deal with that. Poor work ethics. Sometimes you got good employees who come to work on time. They do what they're supposed to do. Then at other times, you got employees who are late for work. Nothing is their fault. They do nothing wrong. And, it's just no matter what you say to them, they just can't seem to accept that they have to be accountable and responsible. Lunch is 30 minutes or an hour. If they got a 30-minute lunch, they're taking 40 minutes. If they got a 60-minute lunch, they're taking an hour and 20 minutes. It's always some excuse. They're late or, you're not supposed to have your cell phone out while you're working, but they're on their cell phone. It's just always something or poor customer service. And they just don't seem to get it, because they don't seem to realize that this is not a social environment. It is a work professional environment. So you're going to have employees with poor work ethics that you have to deal with. You're the one got to issue the disciplinary actions. So it becomes tough because when people are disciplined, they don't like it, even though they're doing wrong. Now, the other thing you have to deal with when you're dealing with a manager is when you have employees that have to be micromanaged. Now, this is something that's very tough for a manager or supervisor because you have other things on your plate that you have to deal with. But when you have an employee or employees that everything they do, you have to take time out of your managerial and supervisor duties to actually go behind them. Did you complete this? Did you do this? Did you send this? Did you take care of this? Did you load this? Did you mail this? Did you take care of this? Did you make these phone calls? Did you contact this customer? You're having to constantly do that. And that employee actually ends up becoming, or employees, a bigger workload than your actual supervisor and manager duties. Because it's like you're actually having to supervise this either one person or one group. And then it's kind of like everything else is kind of like sort of falling behind. So you might start feeling stressed when it's like, okay, who's doing it? Oh man, come on. Because you got to go back and backtrack every single thing they do, or you have to, basically think for them. If you give them something to do, you have to think for them and tell them, okay, we'll do this. Okay, we'll do this the next step. There are just some people like that, man, to where they don't have the ability to where you come to work, you pretty much know what your job is, but they're not able to think beyond their nose. It's like, if it's not right here in front of me, if you haven't given me a piece of paper with it written down, then I don't know I have to do it. You get some employees that have that foresight. Let's say if you got an employee that has to open up in the morning, well, they know we need to get the coffee started. We need to break out maybe the breakfast bagels. We need to do this. We need to do that. I need to make sure that these doors are open. I need to make sure that these ovens are on. They know what to do to get it going. So when people come in, it naturally flows. But some people, you got to call and tell them, hey, turn the ovens on, open the door, start the coffee, pull out the frozen foods. You have to go step by step by step. And it's so annoying when you know this person does the job every day. Another thing a manager has to deal with is, we kind of touched on this earlier, but when you are a manager or a supervisor and you're dealing with an administration, or you have, let's say you're a supervisor and you may have a manager who is, sometimes you just get people above you that are arrogant and they think they know everything, and actually they know nothing. They're just arrogant. They're arrogant. And because of their arrogance, and they don't want to be questioned, don't ask them nothing. Whatever they say, just do it. And you're just kind of thinking like you're doing this the wrong way. You're going about it the wrong way. I saw this shirt at Walmart and I thought it was just the best shirt of ever. And I actually bought one. And it actually says, okay, let's do it the dumbest way possible because I know that's easier for you. And for some cases, that's what you have for some people in the administration above you that you have to work for as a supervisor manager. You just got that person that's like, wow, how did you even become a manager? How did you get this job? How? But those are the things that sometimes the middle leadership has to deal with. Other things, employers see you as a friend and not a manager or supervisor. And this normally happens when you got somebody who is promoted to a leadership position and they've been promoted to this position as someone who actually worked with the group that they're going to be supervising. And people normally, when they work with someone like that, they normally come to the feeling like, listen, oh, you're going to be the manager? Cool. You're going to be the supervisor? Cool. We got it. You're going to look out for us. But they got to understand something, that this person still has a job to do. So when they tell a person to do something, now it's like, oh, you telling everybody what to do? Well, yeah, I'm the manager supervisor now. So yeah, I got to tell you, we got to get this loaded, or we got to prepare this food, or we got to set up this. And, you got to understand, when a person goes into a managerial or supervisor position, sometimes some of the worst people to have work for him are the very same ones that he worked with as a coworker, because they cannot take the fact that this person is now their supervisor, their leader. They're expecting him to be sitting there talking and drinking coffee and hanging out and joking around. But he has to step up his game now, because the responsibility of making sure that everything is getting done is falling on his shoulders. Now, in a perfect world, how that relationship should work out is like, look, you work with us. You understand what has to be going on. We're going to accept the fact that we are going to believe that you as a manager or supervisor now understand what has to be done. So you're going to look out for us in a professional manner, and we're going to do the best we can to make sure that you look good, that we are productive, and that things get taken care of and completed properly. That's in a perfect world. That's in a perfect world. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. We serve a perfect God, but we don't live in a perfect world, because as people, we tend to put social interactions and social behavior over the accountability of people that's in a leadership position, especially if we have worked with them or associated with them in a friendly capacity for a long period of time. So, but honestly, truthfully, that's just pretty much how it is. I mean, you have to make it what it is. It is what it is. Now, I'm not trying to say that being a manager or supervisor is something you should not strive for. But what I'm saying is, being a manager or supervisor is something that you have to realize it is a position to where you're going to have to deal with conflict. You're going to have to deal with people liking you, not liking you, people talking about you. You're going to have to deal with people being jealous, being envious of you. So it's a tough position, because let me tell you, I worked at this community college. I was hired as a supervisor, and I actually left from Georgia to go there. And when I got there, let me tell you, my first day on the job, one of the other supervisors came up, introduced himself. His name was John, and he introduced me to the shift that I would eventually be supervising. And when he introduced me, he was like, hey, this is Reggie Maddox. He's going to be the supervisor. Not a person on that shift said a word. Nobody said hello. Nobody said hi. They looked at me like I literally just slapped every one of their mamas and then came in there to work with them. And it just got worse and worse and worse. It was just, I walked into an environment as a supervisor, thinking like, okay, and my thing is, as a supervisor, I always like to come in and I don't try to make changes. I want to see what's going on. I just want to kind of observe for at least 1 to 2 weeks, normally 3 weeks. I like to observe, just kind of see what's going on, see how people operate. I may ask a question here or there, and just kind of observe, see how it's going on, see how they function, see how they flow, who works together, who doesn't work together well, what works and what could possibly be improved. But I like to understand things before I actually start saying, change this, do this. But, it ended up being just absolutely a hot mess. And then later the manager who hired me, she left, she quit. So they brought in this other manager, and this guy don't like people with accents. He just totally just nitpicked every little thing that was done on the shift I was on, because I had ended up going to midnights. And he just made it a living nightmare. I mean, every email from him was nasty in all caps. It was just, that's the part of being a supervisor. It's rough, man. It's rough. But you know what? Y'all hang in there. I hope you guys are learning something from this. So y'all stay tuned right here. You're listening to Reggie on the Simply Straight Talk Show.
Don't even think about it. We got more straight talk just for you.
Hey, are you looking for some great music, upbeat and with a positive voice? Well, the song I Stand With You is exactly what you need. This timeless song has a pop version sung by Audrey Carmel. And a reggae version sung by General Steele, now known as Revelation.
Now I know some days you may feel blue, Lord. Trust in your greatness to see you through.
These songs are now available on iTunes and other digital platforms for download. Don't miss out. Get your copy today.
Give life your best, and I know.
We're back with the conversation starter and the voice that works harder. Your host, Reggie.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Simply Straight Talk Show. And today we're talking about the challenges of being a manager or supervisor, being in a leadership position. Now, for those of you who have been in a leadership position, you understand that there is so much that goes into it. And sometimes it can make a person feel like, you know what? Being in a leadership position is not worth it. I think I'd rather just go back to being a regular employee where I can just do my job and go home and not have to deal with the extra stress. That's right. Some people actually say that. Some people actually will lose the money. They just say, you know what? The money's not worth it. The headaches is not worth it. I'd rather go back to just being a regular employee, just doing my job and going home. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that because it all depends on the work environment that you're a part of. If you're in a good work environment to where you got good mission statements, you got good objectives, everything is laid out, then yeah, if you got a clear understanding what your role is and what you're supposed to be doing, then being a manager or supervisor, being in a leadership position makes all the difference because that will help you to be a better leader and it will help your staff to be more supportive. But what we're going to do, we're going to talk about some of the things as a leader you can do as a manager or a supervisor, whatever leadership position you're in, to really help your employees get on board with you and for you to get on board with them. Because the biggest problem a lot of managers face is that they have the mentality of, I'm the manager, I'm the supervisor, whatever I say goes, don't question me, you need to do exactly as I say. And the reason that a lot of supervisors and managers or people in leadership get kickback with this mentality is because the people don't really understand what the staff is having to do to complete a project, to complete a task. So it's basically do as I say, not as I do, don't question me. And that is a very, very, very bad way to operate a business, to be effective as a leader. You won't, because eventually your employees who actually can make you look good or bad will probably end up saying, what can we do to make you look bad? So here's some suggestions I have for those of you who are in a leadership position and you're looking at ways to kind of see if you can make things better, or if you're that new person going into leadership. Try implementing some of these tips I'm going to give you, and I think this can help you out. It can definitely get you on a better road to having a better relationship with your department, with your staff, and this way you got a relationship with them and they have a relationship with you. Now, first off, give your employees, okay, if you're a supervisor or a manager in leadership position, give the employees a clear set of operational procedures for the office. Each department should have a clear set of operational procedures for what to do in each step. This way, you can hold them accountable. So if they're not completing something or something is being done wrong, for one, they have a guide. Okay, let's start with that first. They got a guide that they can refer to and say, okay, this is what the company policy is for doing this, this, and this. Versus some companies where you got supervisors or managers or people in leadership that really, they don't have any type of procedures in place. It just kind of like do it at the moment. Whatever it is for right now, that's what you do. And you're going to end up with employees who don't really know what to do. They're just kind of flying by. Oh, we did it like this yesterday. Now today we're doing it like this. And then you got some manager supervisors who want to discipline the employee for something that's not their fault. The next thing, understand your role and how you can incorporate the support of your staff for making sure that you are completing tasks and getting the work done for the department. You need to make sure that, number one, you understand as a role what is expected of you as a leader. And two, you need to share this with your team so they understand what your expectations are. And then you can also ask them, hey, as your manager, as your supervisor, what is your expectations of me? Okay? Because if you got a mutual agreement and understanding of, look, this is what we expect from the manager, this is what we expect from the staff. Okay, as we begin to really go a little bit further, one of the ways to really make your employees feel valued is that you have to invest in your employees, especially when you're giving your employees professional development training for career growth. This makes them feel like they're being valued, like you care about them, and that you don't want them to see at the same level. You don't want them to see in the same position. And this is because the more training you give an employee, this means that employee can grow, go out and obtain additional knowledge to bring back to the company. This means your company can grow. Your company has the chance now to build a stronger staff to make your company more productive and increase your marketing, because you'll never find out what talents you have. Because some companies believe that if we didn't hire you for a position, then you had to stay in the position that you're in. And the problem with that is you may have a great employee that is really talented that might be working in the customer service area that truly has a skill set in the PR area. So you really have to be open to allowing your employees to learn new skills, testing those skills, helping to develop those skills, because that could be what it is within your organization that makes you go from that little mom and pop or that little small business front to all of a sudden you're that Fortune 500 companies. And employees who feel like my company believes in me, my company invested in me. And if you give them a good work environment, then you know what? They're going to give you a lot more than you expected. Now, the next thing we want to look at is, I think for a lot of managers and supervisors, one of the things that I've noticed, and I told you before that I came into this job where I was working at this community college, and it was just an issue. I never realized that some of the employees and even one of the supervisors from the other shifts was actually going back to the manager and telling him things about our shift. Now, I, for the life of me, did not understand why. But then I realized, once I found out that his brother had been fired, who worked in the same department, they were saying that he was blaming, the people on our shift. And for some reason, it just got crazy. So they was going back and telling the manager things that were definitely untrue. And the manager never looked into it to find out, like, okay, are these accusations accurate, or am I dealing with an employee with poor work ethics? Well, he simply took the word of the one person who, like, let's call it what it is. This is simply straight. I'm going to be real with it. The guy was one of those guys who like to kiss up. He likes the brown nose, and he wanted to make himself look good. So in doing that, he was tell people that work for him, if you support me, I'm going to make you look good. Then I'm going to promote you. I'm going to do this. So everybody was creating these stories about the people on my shift. Then they started creating stories about me. And then the manager was just believing them. And I was the supervisor of the shift. So the things that he was saying were totally untrue. And so one day we had a meeting with HR, and they had a director there, and he was spouting out all this stuff. And then when I was giving HR and the director the counter to what he was saying, and he was like, oh, I got to look into that. Oh, well, I didn't know that. Oh, well, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. And it's kind of like, as a manager or for anybody who's in a position of leadership, when you have employees that are making accusations against other employees, don't be so quick to say, okay, they're guilty, they did it, I'll get them. That's not how it works, because you have to realize you got some employees that will do anything to make themselves look good if it means making somebody else look bad, especially if they feel like that employee is a threat to them or threat to their position. Maybe they got a better resume. Maybe they got more education. They got a better skill set. And some people would thrive on the fact that they're able to simply take away from other people. So you have to remember that. As leadership positions, don't be so quick to fall into rumors and gossip and accusations. You need to work off facts. So you need to be able to observe and truly understand and know who are your employees that do have bad work habits and who are your employees that are actually good workers. One thing I found out when I go to a job is anytime I run into employees who come up to me and quickly telling me this person this person that, I normally come to realize that you're the one I really need to watch. Hey, but right now you're listening to the Simply Straight Talk, and we'll be right back with the final thoughts right after this.
You're listening to Simply Straight Talk.
Right, Simply Straight Talk family. We want to return the love you have shown us back to you. Reggie will be giving away great prizes during certain Simply Straight Talk podcast shows, so make sure you subscribe and listen to the show for your chance to win. Just imagine being able to take 4 people to the movies, a free night in a hotel, a gift card with cash for a restaurant, or one of our Simply Straight Talk podcast shirts. There will be other prizes as well. For more information, visit our website at www.rmviaging.com and click on Simply Straight Talk Podcast in the menu.
Are you ready for the straight truth? Reggie, what's the final word for today?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Simply Straight Talk show, and we are back with the final thoughts. Today, we were talking about the challenges of being a leader. And before we get into the final thoughts, let me just apologize. This was a live taping today, and doing a live taping, you will run into some issues. So we definitely had some people pop in, pop up, and, give a little taps like they want to say, hey, hi, and all that. So definitely we always want to show love, and we appreciate it. Okay. But going back to what I was saying, when we're talking about the challenges of being in a leadership position, as a leader, you have to realize that you have to be somebody of good moral standards. You cannot be somebody who feels like, because I'm a leader, everything has to be done my way. I don't have to listen. Don't ask me questions. You can't basically have a dictator mentality as a leader, because your strongest points, what's going to make you a great leader are those people who work for you, those people who are doing the work, completing the tasks, making the projects come to life. They are the ones that really bring everything you do to life. Now, yes, you may be the orchestrator of what gets done, when it's supposed to get done, how it's supposed to get done. But honestly, it's the people who work for you. It's the staff that brings everything to life. It's the staff that when the final project is completed and presented, their hands are really on it. Now, some supervisors and managers are hands-on, but you got a lot who are hands-off, who just kind of sit in an office in an email, or maybe have a few meetings saying, this is what I want, this is what you're going to do. But as managers and as leaders in general, you have to create a work environment that is built on, being complete, being open, to where everybody understands what the objective is. A work environment to where people feel like when I come to work, it's about the job. It's not personal. This is a professional work environment. I understand that. I know what I have to do. But unfortunately, so many people are working in jobs today to where they are being talked down to. They're being paid very little. They're being expected to do so much. And one thing I wish I would have touched on, but I didn't, but I'm going to hit it real quick right here. As a leader, in the work environment, you have to understand that you got your employees. They have things going on at home. And one thing you don't want to do, and this is just from a moral and a human standpoint. A person oftentimes, they may be working a job that is not really what they want to do. They're not making the money they feel they really deserve, but they have to provide for their home life. So you have to consider there may be things going on at their home. They may be not bringing that to work. But you don't want to have an employee that's going home and stressed by their home situation and then coming to work and stressed by the work situation. Now you got an employee that's going to start calling out, but then they're going to start staying away from home because you got to realize the suicidal rate in this country is ridiculous. And you don't want to add to that. You don't want to be the person that calls somebody to commit suicide because you created an environment that just pushed them over the limit. You know what I'm saying? You pushed them across that line to where they felt like, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. So as managers and leaders, you need to understand that you affect a person's mental health. You really do affect a person's mental health. Whether you see it, want to see it, believe it, or don't want to believe it, you need to realize that you affect a person's mental health by the work environment that you create. So, with that being said, hey guys, thanks for listening to us. I appreciate you guys standing by with us. You guys have been great. You've been supportive. Once again, thank you so much. I love you all. And please accept my apologies. I know this episode is not the best, but they're going to get better. Like I said, this was a live one. So live and learn. All right. Hey, y'all stay blessed. I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Be sure to subscribe for more motivational topics based on real-life conversations, and don't forget to rate, review, and share our show so we can continue to bring you the best in real-life conversations. Join us next week right here on Simply Straight Talk.